What is up, everybody? Justin here with the KrashTube Podcast. We're restarting this. This is episode 1, October 2024, and we're restarting this. I messed around with it a few years ago, and it started going off the ground a little bit, but I made some excuses, and some stuff got in the way with life, and we fell off the wagon. So we're going to hit this hard. I'm going to come at you guys with a weekly short little clip episode, talk about a few things. I got some really cool partners in the industry that are going to come on the show via Zoom or in person, and some other companies that we work really closely with. So we're excited about that. So make sure you guys subscribe and tune in, because there's going to be some fun stuff here and some really good knowledge transfer. And that's the whole goal of this podcast, is to try to help you guys out and pass on stuff that we're learning and or learning along the way. So stay tuned. All right, so we got 3 really good ones for you guys today. I got a little Trail Hero recap. We got some talks about vehicle fires and fires in general, and we got talks about med kits because we had some incidents at Trail Hero. So let's jump right in. So we ran a ton of trails at Trail Hero this year, and we had an absolute blast doing that. Quick rundown: we ran double Sammy quite a few times, morning and night. Ran the shoot a bunch, morning and night. We ran joint effort, which was super difficult trail. Definitely a joint effort to get through there, so I see where the name came from. Ran Milt's Mile with the RPM crew. That was really fun day. 777s, we ran chain reaction. We didn't get through the whole trail. There were some rigs broken down in front of us, so we had to kind of turn around. From my understanding, there's 2 trails in that same canyon that run, and chain reaction is the easier of the trails. It's like a 9, and the other one, I can't remember the name of it, but I want to say it's like a 13. And we looked at some of those lines, and I'm like, yeah, there's no way a full-body Jeep's getting through there, so not without major damage. But so even the chain reaction lines, which were a 9, they were super difficult. Like, it was impressive, and we had a really good time. My favorite trail of the whole trip was the maze. We ran that with a really fun group. That was my top trail of the week. So really fun. We did a ton of night wheeling. Went out with KC and did a little night run, night shoot, and just a bunch of other night runs. The KrashFab run was kind of half at during the day and then into the dusk and ended at night. And so that was really cool to get the KrashFab run out there again with, a bunch of people that are friends of ours, and some of the people that are running our parts. Just a blast. So really cool. If you guys are out there next year or any of our other runs, make sure you jump in, because it's a good time. Even if you don't have our stuff, we're just here to have fun. Other thing I was going to mention too is my wife has basically been driving this Jeep now for a full year, and the Jeep isn't hers, as it isn't mine. It's just ours, right? But if we're Jeeping together, she's driving, and the reason for that is because she gets violently car sick. Like, we'll be throwing up in no time. That's the main reason, but the secondary reason is I love watching her drive and watching the vehicle go over obstacles and seeing what the vehicle can really do, and I'm learning a lot by just watching it. So it's been really fun, and then plus I get to do all the video and all the content and show you guys that on the backside. So that's really, really cool. Honestly, the wife is absolutely crushing it out there. So it's really cool to watch her progression and watch her get more confident with the rig and be able to conquer obstacles that a lot of other people can't, and a lot of other people don't have vehicles that can do those obstacles. So really cool to watch, and I'm really proud of her. So stay tuned for more Wifey Wheeling content. Long-term plan, we just got to convince her I'm going to build a buggy. It'll be a really cool KrashFab buggy. So that's my long-term plan. So that way we can both drive, and I can also film her driving from the outside. So we're working on that. Lastly, Trail Hero, we had the vendor show. The vendor show was good. There was a lot of new vendors there this year, so it was a really big show. Unfortunately, it was super hot from the 3 to 7 time for the 3 days of the vendor show there. So I can honestly tell you, we did not have a very successful vendor show. There was maybe like 100 people, maybe 200 people that walked by the booth each day. So numbers were really down for that. So that was kind of a bummer. We were hoping to meet more people there and, talk about some more parts and that kind of stuff and what kind of stuff we can do to help people. So if there's anything you guys are interested in, whether it's from me or another vendor, I strongly encourage you to reach out and say, hey, we didn't make it to Trail Hero, or we didn't make it to the vendor booth because of the heat, and we'd still love to support you guys, whether it's me or another vendors, because I know a lot of the big companies, they were very upset about the turnout. I think everybody would appreciate you guys' support. So, and I know times are hard, so do what you guys can. So that kind of concludes that. So fire, topic number 2. On the way to Trail Hero, our truck caught on fire. We had a big gooseneck trailer ripping down the highway. The wife was driving. I was actually sleeping because I stayed up the whole night before prepping for the event. So she's like, oh, there's a problem. Something's smoking. And so we both assumed that there was a tire on the trailer, since it was a borrowed trailer that maybe had popped. or something to that matter. So she started pulling over on Highway 99, and I said, no, go another couple hundred yards down the road. There's an exit ramp right there. Just pull off there. That way we're off the road. We can deal with the tire in a safe location. So she did. She kept driving, accelerated, no problem. Stopped in a safe place. We all kind of jumped out of the truck, and all of us walked back to the trailer. As I'm flashlighting the tires on my side, it's like, tires look fine, but I did notice there was fluid all over the ground. And so my immediate thought was we lost a transmission with the heavier trailer. And my truck's got 190,000 miles on it. So I was like, okay, we lost a transmission. And that's when my friend George, Rubicon Rocklander, was like, dude, your truck's on fire. Everybody sprung into action super fast. I'm really impressed by it. I ran to the Jeep because I had just put a fire extinguisher inside the Jeep for the trip, because it's a safe thing to do, right? George ran to his Jeep where he got a fire extinguisher. The wife ran to the truck seamlessly without anybody saying a word. She shut the truck off because it was still running and popped the hood. As we all kind of reached the hood at the same time and location, trying to open the hood, there was literally flames coming out of the hood. So we were able to get that open, pop it open. Both me and George dumped full-size fire extinguishers to get the flames out, both on top of the engine, under, on the firewall, that kind of stuff. So something to the effect of something failed in the fuel system and essentially sprayed a mist of diesel on top of the turbo, which was inherently glowing red from the heavy load and trailer going on the highway. So that's what the fire cause was, in my opinion. We were able to get it out, but the engine bay and truck is toast. Kind of my big takeaway from this is I generally don't keep a fire extinguisher in my daily driven pickup truck. And my wife doesn't have one in her car. For the most part, we don't carry fire extinguishers. And that kind of led me to reminiscing when I used to super commute from Sacramento to the Bay Area doing construction almost every day. You'd see a new spot on the road where a vehicle completely burned to the ground and left a big scar on the road. And so this whole thing has really got me second guessing, why don't I have a fire extinguisher in my pickup? Because this situation could have gone really bad. The truck could have gone completely engulfed. We still had my dog in the truck, let alone all of the gear inside the truck. All of our clothes and the whole bed of the truck was full of gear. We had a gooseneck attached to that I had borrowed, with both my Jeep and George's Jeep on there, and the whole trailer also full of gear and equipment and supplies for the trip. So, we could have lost everything, and that would have been far worse than just losing the truck. Take that for what it is. My new thought going forward is I'm always going to carry a fire extinguisher, and I'm going to kind of go back to the med kit theology with tourniquets. If you carry one tourniquet, that's none. If you carry two, that's one. So I'm probably going to start carrying 2 fire extinguishers. There's a couple of really cool ones, there's Element fire extinguisher. I'm probably going to carry one of those in each of the vehicles, and then probably an actual real class ABC fire extinguisher, or something fancy if I want to carry a Halon or something like that, but they're just really expensive. So yeah, but that's my recommendation, is to carry some fire extinguishing equipment. So, and we do it in the welding industry. Anytime we go out the welding rig, I've got my Indian fire pump, which is a water pump and 15 gallons of water so that we can put fires out, plus Class A fire extinguishers as well. So I don't know why I haven't been carrying them in my regular vehicles. So that's going to stop right away. Take it for what it is, but shit lights on fire pretty fast. So very scary. All right, last topic for this inaugural podcast is medical kit stuff. So we had one incident that I was involved in at Trail Hero, which was not major, and then another incident which was pretty major and almost life-ending for a person. So I'll start with the easier one. We were on the trail, and one of my buddies, Matt with Modern Off-Road, really cool dude. If you're in Arizona and you need a shop, go see Matt because he's squared away. He installs also a lot of RPM suspension kits and our kits and or our parts, bumpers, sliders, stuff like that too. So if you guys need any help in Arizona or that region, hit up Matt. But Matt was like, oh, hey, do you have tweezers? I got something in my leg. And I'm like, no, I don't have tweezers. I was like, I'll dig through my toolbox. I've got some really small needle nose pliers. He's like, oh, okay, cool. So I'm starting to dig through the back of the Jeep. And after a minute, he goes, oh, I'm deathly allergic and I got stung by a bee. And I was like, you should have led with that, first of all. Second of all, how bad is your allergy? Because, I know some people that are allergic where it'll blow up and it's uncomfortable. And other people that are allergic that instantly will start closing airways, and it's a really big medical emergency. So Matt says it used to be a really big problem. It used to be a medical emergency. As of lately, I think my allergies are a little bit less. But so I start digging through my med kit. I had a trauma kit with me, which is great, but there's no like Benadryl in there. I didn't have an EpiPen, which I honestly do try to carry because my mother-in-law is also very allergic, so we always have them around for her. So we didn't have any supplies. Matt didn't have any supplies. He didn't have an EpiPen. Everybody else started rummaging through their med kits, and we did find George had some Benadryl. So we gave him some Benadryl. We marked the sting so we could monitor the progress of its expansion, I guess you'd say, and did the best we could, and then constantly monitored Matt to make sure that he didn't start going into some kind of shock or airway issues. So that situation could have gone really bad though, and it's something that I also am evaluating my med kit and going, okay, well, that's great that you have a trauma kit, but that does nothing for general first aid and or having an EpiPen, which is a really common medical emergency on the trail in the woods and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to take a self-evaluation of my med kit, probably start carrying 2 different med kits and try to alleviate that. The second major trauma incident that I had some friends involved with was a gentleman was in a 2-door Jeep going up a very steep obstacle, and he actually was struggling a little bit, and so folks were guiding him. And in this video, you can actually literally hear an individual yell at him 3 different times to keep his hands inside the vehicle, on the steering wheel, and off the roll cage. So when the Jeep did actually go over backwards, even though he'd been told multiple times to keep his hands off the roll cage, he had one hand on the steering wheel and he put one hand on the top of the roll cage and went over backwards. And what that proceeded to do was, I think from my understanding, removed one finger. The other finger was severed and hanging by a small piece. The takeaway that I got from that was then listening to what happened afterwards. Nobody had a trauma kit. Nobody had tourniquets. Nobody had any general first aid experience to stop the bleed. From talking to them, the individual immediately went into shock, was like basically passing in and out because of shock. Long story short is I think the medical first aid could have been much better for this individual. The fingers are what the fingers are, but he almost died from shock and blood loss. And so doing a little bit of self-reflection on that, people really should carry a trauma kit with them, which I do have a trauma kit, and have some kind of general first aid. There's a bunch of great classes out there. A bunch of great first responder classes out there. One of my favorites is like Fieldcraft Survival. They do a great first aid trauma stuff, kind of all over survival stuff. So I'd strongly encourage you guys to carry some med kit with you, both trauma and just general, and know how to use this stuff because like this individual almost lost his life out there due to just inadequately equipped and trained people. So very scary stuff, and we want everybody to have fun, and so the goal is to just be prepared because shit happens, and it happened a lot on this trip. So yeah, that's my 3 topics for today, and I got some more good ones coming at you for next week. So thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys subscribe, and I really appreciate your guys' support, and make sure you tell your friends. All right, guys, that's all I got. Next time.